Welcome to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. This is Chris Miller. I invite you to join me as I interview artists from a variety of disciplines. We'll share powerful stories and lessons learned while making their art. Good day, spiritual artists. This is CJMiller, the host of the Spiritual Artist Podcast. I thought I'd give you an uplifting story, something to think about for the rest of the week. Today is midweek, and I wanted to talk to you about a story I had with my son, something that I taught my son when I was showing him how to drive, and how that applies to what and how we need to approach today's world. Let's face it. It's a questionable world we're in today. There's so much drama going on. So let's talk about this. When my son was learning to drive, I explained to him that when you're on the highway, you have to constantly be searching and seeking and noticing other people, not closely, but just be aware of them. And if someone comes up to you and they drive up to you and they're racing down the highway, and say they pull up to the back of your car and they're flipping their lights, there's several impulses we have. You know this has happened to you. One impulse is to hit the brakes, but the greater and higher impulse, and I explained this to my son, is to gently move over and let them go on their way. There's a reason for this. And I explained to my son, they have a vibration. Those people have a consciousness. They have a vibration of impatience and anger, whatever you want to call it. And it could just be an emergency vibration, but you don't want to match that vibration. And if you decide to stop and block them, consciously hold them back from passing, or speed up and race them, you are actually stepping out of your consciousness of safety and stepping into their consciousness of anger or rushing. And that is not going to do anybody any good. So the key here is that energy attracts like energy. And I said to my son, don't worry about them. Even if you're judgmental, do not worry about them. They will find their own match. Down the line, they will find a police car or they will find another driver just like them. And it's not going to be pretty. Either they're going to get a ticket or they're going to race with someone else until one of them gets hurt. So you want to just move to the side, I explained to my son. So what brought this up with me is this week I read this wonderful YouTube post from a woman over in the Scandinavia, I believe, and she was talking about how right now, more than ever, us light workers, us people that I would consider spiritual artists, need to practice staying centered. And I thought about it. It was very moving for me. And I thought, I really need to, I know this. I know this is one of my first spiritual practices. First thing in the morning is to align myself, But why do we let it slip out when we look at the world and society and all that? When we flip through our phones, when we're looking at social media, we let ourselves get pulled out, right? Or let me say it from a personal standpoint. I have let myself get pulled out. Even when I do the right work, if I see a headline that shows someone suffering or an injustice, it's a trigger, right? It's a trigger for me. And so I let it pull me out into thoughts of fear or anger or righteousness. And so what this woman was saying online is, and I like to call it love consciousness. Stay in this place of love. So if you've listened to inspirational speaker Esther Hicks from Abraham Hicks, one of the things she used to love to say, and I listened to her program probably for 20 years, I kid you not, and she used to say, I will tell you something, I am not going to step out of the vortex for you. I am not going to step out of the vortex for you. Now, vortex was her term for alignment. Just like I talk about my sense of presence, but she called it the vortex. And she said, if someone comes up to you and they start complaining about something or they're angry and you meet them there, for example, if someone comes up to you and says, oh, this is so unfair. I can't believe my taxes. I paid so many taxes this year. And then you go to your fear and you say, me too. You know, I actually owed money this year. You have just stepped out of your sense of love and presence to match them. And she said, I won't do it for you. I will listen, I will support you, and I will send you love, but I will not step out of the vortex. Esther Hicks had it correct. Now, if there's one thing that's more challenging in today's world, and I think this all came from cellular phones, smartphones. Before that, we didn't have this constant in your face messaging. And what's happened is there's all sorts of practices that have been established. It's called clickbait and headlines that tease and provocative headlines. And I have learned that when I do look at social media, if I see a negative headline or a fear-based headline, I just scroll right past it as much as I can. But I'll tell you what, I am human, right? And sometimes it will pull me in. So I'll be honest with you. I have decided to pull back from social media a great deal, a great deal. I give myself maybe 30 minutes of it a day. And I try to really focus on only the positive messaging, like this wonderful woman's video on YouTube speaking of how we could stay in and be the lighthouse. She said, we need to be the lighthouse for others. So I would say that you're holding your love consciousness. And I would say that this is a practice I'm going to ask you to do for the rest of the week. Just watch yourself. Watch yourself. Make sure that your goal is to stay in the loving presence of who you are. And if anything comes up to challenge that, don't step out for it. Don't step out. Don't match it. And if that means cutting back on social media, or if that means not watching scary television shows or shows with negative messaging, don't do it. I know that that's a big thing. A lot of us love the drama, right? We love all the drama. If you noticed, when I was growing up, long time ago, when I was growing up, everything on TV was trying to portray the highest ideal, a good life, good decision making, a good family life, good relationships. And somewhere along the way, we started focusing on the protagonist, right? It's true, right? We started focusing on the person that was interestingly mean or had catty remarks or was hurting other people. But what happens is that's stepping out of the vortex. That is stepping out of your loving presence. Because what happens is you start absorbing that over and over again. Funny thing, a couple of weeks ago, my son was saying he was going out to a movie, and it was a violent movie, one of these scary movies. I think it was that movie with the scary clown. I don't know or not. It wasn't a clown. It was a monkey. Have you seen it? Anyway, seen the ads for it? I haven't watched it, but just saw the previews. And I said to him, you know what? Just remember this. If you go and watch that movie, whatever you see is going to permanently be placed in your subconscious. It's true. It will be permanently placed in your subconscious. And I will share with you that I learned that lesson when I was a teenager. I used to watch all the scary movies, Friday the 13th, all those scary movies. But what happened is I started having dreams about them. And those dreams were so real and so vivid and so bloody that I had to pull back from it. And I made a conscious decision that I'm not into watching those scary, bloody movies. I love a good murder mystery. I love something where violence is toned down. But when they get into that chainsaw gore, I step away and I step back into love. That's how I stay calm. Some of you might not bother, but I think it does. And so I told my son, just remember, and found out later that they did not go to that movie. They switched it to something a little more nice, right? Or a little more safe. Anyway, so right now you're probably saying, oh, Chris, but the world is a mess and I need to do what I need to do to fix it. Look at all these problems. And I'll tell you that. We are taught, right, that we should fix. We are obligated to help others, and we are. But sometimes that obligation can just be through demonstration, by staying present in love, by being a lighthouse, as this woman said. We will attract those people towards us. And I will tell you what, sometimes we just have to stand back and let the things play out. I could race that car down on the highway and try to teach him how dangerous it is to drive fast and that he's hurting other people and he shouldn't do that. But do you think it's going to be met with any sense of receptivity? Do you think? Do you think if I raced down the highway and pulled the guy aside that I would be able to pull him up into a goodness level, into a level of love? Maybe, but it's really challenging. And so right now in the world, I know it's tempting. You want to do something. Do something that I call passive resistance. There's ways that you can support. You can send money to organizations that are supporting causes that help others. You can set prayer and hold intention for those people. You can donate money to causes that support any disadvantaged group of people. But you don't have to fix it. so to say. You might need to just right now, I think what I loved about this woman's video, what I want to share with you is right now, just staying present, staying in love is a job enough. And you know what? When you keep sending out that consciousness of love, they will be attracted to you. Ultimately, they will realize that there is only one way, and that way is through love, compassion, and sharing. And if you sit there and demonstrate it, which is what Martin Luther King would do, you will demonstrate that love. And so let's talk about this. I was thinking this morning about how our term for love is so simplistic here in the West. You know, many different cultures use terms. There's the term of romantic love, which is transactional or simply on a one person level. But then there's this broader love. And I'm asking you to be the broader love, the love of life. The ancient Greeks called it agape, the selfless, unconditional love that gives without expectation. And it's a term that was later incorporated into a lot of Christian thought, agape love. Buddhism call it Maitri. I don't know if you've heard that in Sanskrit. It means loving kindness or boundless friendliness towards all things. So loving of all things, loving the people around you, the institutions around you, the organizations around you. Just send love out there. I love this term. I was so interested in this. I explored it with my AI this morning, and it came up with so many different terms. There's one called Caritas, which is a Latin term meaning grace-filled love. There's a philosopher, Henry Bergson, who described it as élan vital, a vital force that drives all life forward, akin to love as a creative practice. And you know, if you follow me, that's what I teach you when you go into the art studio, to step into that space of love, step into that space of receiving, intuition, and loving all things. And that's where the creative impulse happens, by stepping into that space of love. So, what are you going to do for the next few years? Are you going to practice holding your own? Because I think that's what this is about. I think that we are being challenged here to step it up a grade and to shift from transactional thinking into a grander type of love, a universal love. I think we're being asked to step up into our higher selves on a regular basis. And that's not by pushing against. If you push against, it's often met with more resistance. That's by pushing forward, going toward love, going toward love. So I hope this message reaches you. I seriously hope it reached my son, because it is a hard lesson and it's something that we all have to practice. And I'm going to tell you the truth. There's still days where someone might come up and cut me off in traffic, and my first impulse is to yell. My first impulse is to yell. But now my second impulse, my higher impulse, and I take a breath to hear it, is to let them go on their way, and they will find their own destiny. So thank you for listening to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. I have an interview scheduled for next week. I know it's been a couple weeks since an interview. I just had some cancellations. I love interviewing people, but I also love talking to you like this. And I hope and I know that you will have a great day and you will stay in love. Don't step out of the vortex. Stay in love for the rest of the week and be a spiritual artist. Talk to you soon. Hey, spiritual artist, I just had a second thought and I wanted to share that with you. How do you step into agape? Well, that is by sitting down, taking a deep breath, and just enjoying the world around you. I recommend sitting down and noticing all those little things. Right now, I'm noticing my dog shaking at the foot of my computer here and coming in and laying next to my side. And I'm seeing the light come through the windows behind me. And I'm feeling this sense of peace, knowing that everything is in harmony. And that's how you practice agape. Agape is a way of looking at everything and seeing the value of it. So do that for a minute right now at the end of this podcast. If you're not driving, sit down, take about 5 minutes and just breathe into the moment and be present and know that all is well, that love is everywhere in all things, and it needs to be remembered and revealed. Talk to you soon. And thanks for following the Spiritual Artist Podcast. Thanks again for listening to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. Whether you're watching this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or iHeartRadio, make sure you choose the subscribe button so that you will receive updates when new segments are released. Most importantly, Be still, listen, and know that you are a spiritual artist.